Hi again, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm, and today I want to talk to you about aphids. Now, I've talked about aphids before. I made a video a couple years back called How to Control Aphids in Your Garden Without Using Pesticides or Without Spraying. This time I'm going to go one step further and say if you do get to that point where you do have to spray for the aphids, these are the things that you will use. Now, I do want to recap some of the information in that video because the general information about aphids are that they are fast reproducing, slow moving bags of plant sap that are easy pickings for any predator in the garden. And what that really means is that they have a population boom early in the season before there are a lot of predators in the garden. But once you have a good established base of beneficial insects in the garden, your aphid problems generally will resolve of their own. Okay, that being said, there are times when you'll come up on your roses, you'll come up on particularly your brassicas, your cauliflowers, your cabbages, and find them covered with a thick layer of aphids, and they're doing so much damage to the plant that you just can't wait for nature to balance itself. And so today I'm going to go through a few of the different solutions you can use if you need to get rid of aphids right away. Sometimes the best solution may be the simplest, and in that category I would say using your hose and nozzle. Just set it to a sharp setting and then knock those aphids off of the soft tips of your plants where they tend to accumulate. That's what aphids are going after. They're going after the softest, fastest growing part of your plants where all the nutrients and sugar is, and they're targeting those parts of your plants. So if you hit this on your rosebuds, if you hit this on the fast growing tips of your veggies, that will knock the aphids off. And aphids don't have a great way. They're so slow moving and so dumb that they can't find their way back up onto those tips of the plants. They will die down in the soil. So that's the quickest, easiest way to do it. It doesn't cost you any chemicals. You don't have to go out to the store. It's fairly manual, so if you miss some aphids, which you generally will do, the population will build up fairly quickly, but consider this just a stopgap, that until your beneficials arrive, this is a good measure to take care of them. The second one I'm going to discuss here is also a fairly low impact method, which is just using soap or insecticidal soap. Now, insecticidal soap is, by distinction, different than dish soap, which most people will try to substitute it for. Insecticidal soap is meant not to harm your plants as it does its job. So it's potassium salts of fatty acids, which is generally not very harmful to your plant tissues, but it will dry out the aphids upon application. So any aphids that are hit with this, they'll die because they'll dry out. It'll desiccate them. So that's fantastic. Unlike the sprayer, it won't just knock them off. This has a chance of hitting a large group of aphids and then killing them all. Now, it only will kill the ones that it touches. So, once again, if they're hidden underneath the leaves, if they're in the nook or cranny of your plant, they won't get killed. But for all the ones it does hit, it will kill. Now, it does have the negative impact that it can kill your beneficials as well. So if you hit ladybugs or you hit other susceptible predators with the insecticidal soap, it can harm them as well. So just be careful of that. The third one I'll talk about is horticultural oil. And horticultural oil works similarly to the, sorry, I'm going to turn this around so that we have the English side. It works similarly to the insecticidal soap in that you have to apply it directly to the aphids. The mode of action is just different. With the insecticidal soap, it will dry them out. With the horticultural oil, it suffocates them. So really, they are equally effective. The downside being that horticultural oil and oils in general applied to the plants can be fairly phytotoxic. So you'd want to apply them during a cooler portion of the day. You want to avoid applying horticultural oils if you've also applied sulfur to your plants. And you'd be on a watch for the symptoms of harm or phytotoxicity on the leaves of your plants. That would be burned margins or burned leaf surfaces, discoloration. Okay, moving on to the next one. The thing about neem oil is that it actually does interrupt the life processes, the biological processes, and the life cycle of insects. The downside is it isn't an acute killer so much. I mean, I guess applied at a high enough rate, it can really damage the population of aphids, but really it takes some time to work. It makes it so they can't breed, that their biological processes are interrupted. So it's not really a quick way to get rid of a population of aphids. So just keep that in mind. It doubles up as a bit of a fungicide and another one that you don't want to apply during very hot weather. The final one I'm going to talk about is pyrethroids, and this one, permethrin, is the effective ingredient. And I would call this like the last resort, and as really as toxic as I would ever go for controlling something like aphids. Aphids are generally easily controlled by a wide range of products. This one here will kill all of the insects on your plants. It's just an acute poison on the plants. So if you don't want to go chemically, and you don't want to do that on your veggies, I can completely understand that. As far as it goes, this isn't in the harshest class of chemicals, but just keep in mind that if you apply this to your plants, it will kill all of the beneficials, all of the aphids, all of the pests on the plant if it reaches them. It might not do a great job of killing spider mites and other pests that are hiding in the folds of your flowers, things like thrips, again, spider mites on the undersides of leaves behind their webbing, but it does a bang-up job of getting rid of aphids. Alright, that's all I can tell you about controlling aphids in the garden. I wish you best luck with that. If you have any questions on the topic of aphids, or in general on pest control in the garden at all, please feel free to drop those in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do to help.